Good evening and welcome back to Mystic Matters. We are the Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce. Good evening, Tricia Walsh.
Good evening, Susette.
And may I just say, I don't know if it's because the weather is getting so nice. What a pleasure it is to do this show with you, Tricia.
It is.
Even though you have so much that's going on down at the Chamber, and I know we're gearing up for some event. What's the main event that we want to talk about?
I have to, it's early and it seems a little premature, but we have to pitch Art Festival.
Yes, we do have to pitch.
Second weekend in August.
Yep.
Always looking for volunteers. That event would not run successfully without the 100+ volunteers that give their time generously. Susette is one of them. She is out there the whole weekend, our co-chair and supporter.
It was funny because years and years ago, I always said, I was born and raised, and we've heard this story a million times, and I said I'd never, ever volunteer for the Art Festival. This is when I was 14. Mm-hmm. And here I am I think it's almost 15 years out and enjoying I know.
I think she's lying. I think it's like 20 years.
Well, maybe 20 years, but the more you add on to the age, the worse it looks for me. But anyways, we enjoy a team of us that come down there every year with our team of volunteers. It takes about over 100 of them, too.
Exactly, over 100 people, a variety of different jobs. So regardless of whether you want to it's a great chance to actually be walking the festival, enjoying all the artwork, interacting with the artists, and also just providing a service that we need. We need people just walking around, seeing if the artist needs to take a bathroom break or something like that.
Get something to eat.
And that is one of the highest compliments that we get back from our artists is that we provide such great service with our volunteers. Our Art Festival logo, you'll be seeing that everywhere soon.
We're launching it soon, and it's fantastic.
Just released by local artist Rita Rivera. It's a beautiful logo. I am so excited for it this year, and we're going to have all kinds of cool T-shirts that we just actually placed the order for today. So, mysticchamber.org, Hannah at mysticchamber.com if you want to, or .org rather, if you want to email her directly. She's our events director, or you can just call us at the chamber, and we're happy to set you up with a shift for volunteering.
Fantastic. Well, the Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce has always supported, not only through Mystic Matters, but some of our local events in the area. And I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce this evening our guest, but also a friend to our community. And I want to welcome Jeff Anderson, Executive Director of MASH. And I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about MASH and what MASH means. But I also want to just shout out to you that congratulate you for how many years that you've owned Kelly Space, Stu. You're the owner and the old Mystic Village, and he's come a long way, and I want to welcome you as part of a fellow business owner as well. But you've always been involved with MASH and some of our local nonprofit organizations, and here you are again. I know the history of it, but why don't you start off with the history and actually tell us a little bit about what MASH means?
Sure. It's a great pleasure to be here with you tonight, and we're happy to celebrate MASH and celebrate Mystic and all that's happening in our town. MASH was started basically 18 years ago by Dr. Reverend Carpenter in 1998. But I'm going to go back 1 year earlier. And I have a note here I want to read if you don't mind. And this is from the Union Baptist Church, and it's their envelopes that people put money in.
Mm-hmm. And the tithing envelopes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this person gave a donation of $1 on June 15th, 1997, and she put her address in and put that she's giving $1 and said thank you for assisting me in my endeavors, and congratulations to them and good wishes. And then on July 20th, so just a month and 5 days later, she dropped another envelope in the mailbox. And this one, her address is homeless. Oh. And she had just spent the last 3 nights on the steps of the Union Baptist Church. And on her note, she said, thank you for your overnight blessings, because she spent the night on the steps, and fired from my job, and I need help. So here's a person, somebody that lives in the Mystic area, who on June 15th had a home in 1997, and on July 20th, 1997, was homeless. And that was the start of how MASH got started.
Which stands for what?
Mystic Area Shelter and Hospitality. And basically what it was the local churches got together and wanted to do something for the homeless in our town. And many people don't think of Mystic as having
I was
homeless.
just going to say to you, Jeff, we don't have homeless people in
That's
Mystic.
right. They don't exist anywhere.
no.
And MASH's focus is on families. And really, the mission statement for quite a while has been ending homelessness one family at a time. But the key really is, how can we prevent homelessness? So somebody doesn't go from having a home to no home. And that's really the crux of what we're doing today. And when we started, we had shelters, and somebody was in crisis, you put them in a shelter, and they stay there for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 9 months, as they're trying to get their life together, trying to save some money for a deposit for rent or a utility bill, and they're there for a very long time. And what we found is that the quicker we can get them out of shelter, or if we can prevent them from going to shelter at all, one, it costs less money to do it, and two, emotionally, it's a lot less costful. Because really, with a family, the dynamics are, you have the breadwinner, the adults, and then you have the children. And studies have shown that a child that enters an emergency shelter, it has a permanent mark on them, and it carries with them their entire life. And that can be higher emotional issues, trouble in school, but also they're more likely to need human services as an adult. So if we can prevent families from entering a homeless shelter and being homeless, we can have a whole downward cycle that can help out. And most recently, the board of MASH has gone through a strategic planning process, and we're now pivoting. And we're actually going to change our mission statement to preventing family homelessness one family at a time. We've been doing this for years on a three-prong approach of doing prevention services, rapid rehousing, and emergency shelter. But really, our focus really is in that prevention category. And it costs very little money to help prevent when we know a family's in crisis. And the key is to get to them before they're in crisis, because it doesn't take much. These are our neighbors who fill our gas tanks. They're serving us at the diner, and we see them every day, and they're one paycheck away from being homeless. If you're at home, you're working 1 or 2 part-time jobs, you have a child, that child becomes sick, you have to take time off from work to get them to the doctor. That's one less day of pay for you. If you don't have a car and you're using bus transportation, that it can take 2 or 3 hours to get to an appointment. Once again, more lost wages. It gets cold in Mystic. The tourists go home. People cut back on the hours, and that can put them at risk. So it's a very fine line. And what happens is they get into trouble. Do I pay the medicine for my sick child, or do I pay the rent? Do I fix the car so I can go to work, or do I pay the rent? Any good parent's going to buy the medicine first. They're going to fix the car so they can go to work, and the rent suffers. And you think, well, I'll make it up next month, but there never is a next month.
Right, it just spirals down.
And they get behind, exactly, right. So our services can help them by giving them a month's rent to help them out, or finding other services. We have a great social worker in Marlin who is really good at going through these calls, and often we can get a family out of crisis without even any money. Just the professional talking to them and finding the resources for them in other ways. So that's the first level. And the second level is providing some resources for them. And then upstream is looking for transportation with them. We have a great program called Wheels to Work, where when donors want to donate vehicles to us, we then turn around and give those vehicles to families that we know could use a car to help them out. Employment is another one. We have some training programs now where we help somebody move up on the employment ladder so they can gain better wages. So those are really big issues. And then also childcare for a family that's looking for work. Looking for work is a full-time job.
Oh, you can spend that even online, just
Exactly.
looking for, yeah,
So
right.
finding child care, so while they're working on getting work and getting things together. So those are the things that we can really help, and then the prevention part. And further down, what we really have to look at is affordable housing, is actually
key.
having places that are affordable. Because if you work, one breadwinner in a family is working a minimum wage job, and really you should be paying no more than 30% of your salary for a home. That's about $900 a month. Try to find a 2-bedroom apartment in Southeast Connecticut for $900 a month. It's in a good neighborhood.
Take it outside of Mystic. It's even,
It's
really hard.
really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
So we had to find a way to bridge that gap. And that's if this person actually has a 40-hour-a-week job, which many don't. So it's really now looking at the affordable housing piece and how we can help find those safe, affordable units for them to move into.
Jeff, as you were explaining the whole process, and sadly enough, we don't think about this, here in our own town. But now we identify homelessness, but in reality, how do they come to you? I mean, as you're saying this, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I mean, if I were homeless, would I have would I just try to live on the street, or would I even have the pride to come to, how do you find these people? Or do they come to you, or you find them? How does this work?
It's a little bit of both. Fortunately,
Okay.
Many years ago, someone would be in trouble and they'd look in the phone book and call.
Okay.
They'd find
what
all
do
the
they call?
services and
All
call
the services,
all the
okay.
services. Now what we have is a coordinated access, and anybody can pick up the phone and dial 211. And what happens with 211 is
But do most people know that?
well, we try to get the word out
Okay.
about that.
All right. So it's 211.
Right. People in crisis kind of know where to,
Okay.
they'll talk to somebody and they'll say,
Yeah.
oh, call. And that's helping a great deal, because what it does is it cuts out of all the duplication of services. Because if you're in one shelter, you might
Yes.
spend an hour with the person on the phone, then they call me another hour on the phone.
Right.
So this way it eliminates all the duplication of services, and then their information is passed on to an organization. And we all take turns on taking these calls. So every day
So there's
somebody's
a
in charge
hotline,
of answering
somebody
the calls.
is always 24/7. There's someone on
24/7.
211.
And then the very next day, an appointment is made for them, and the intake happens. And that's where a lot of the prevention piece can happen.
Okay.
Marlon will have her day where she's on the phone all day with different families in crises and problem solving with them. And about 30% or even 40% some weeks can be diverted with no money at all, can find a solution just by talking with them. Then the others, we find out if we can go right into prevention. We call shelter in place, find a way to keep them right where they are without losing their home. Or a last case scenario is bring them into shelter and then start the process of rehousing them. The whole thing is housing first, getting into a house first as soon as possible to eliminate that time in shelter, and then work on what were the root causes that caused the homelessness and to mitigate those so it doesn't happen again.
So I think many people would wonder, because they may not be familiar with the organization, does MASH have an actual facility in Mystic that provides housing to these people, and how many people can you accommodate?
Right. We have shelters. It's located in Groton.
Okay.
That we shelter families in, and we use those for our rapid rehousing program and for emergency shelter.
Does MASH own these facilities?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. But then the less people we put in the shelter, the more we can prevent. You have a certain
Yes.
pot of money, so
Yeah.
we found that the more money we spend on prevention, actually the demand for shelter goes down. So we're able to balance the two and to really do more with less shelters and to do more on the prevention services.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering, in terms of the prevention and, trying to kind of step in before it becomes homelessness, do people from your agency work with perhaps like a landlord or a tenant, or in that situation where
good
they
question.
could maybe
Yeah.
say, is there any way we can negotiate something in order to keep this person from?
Correct. As soon as when we're working with a client, we talk to their landlords and see what the situation is from their point of view, and try to get an idea of where things are at. And then usually when you talk to the landlord, they'll hold off the eviction process while we can get things rolling. That way we can shelter them in place, keep them where they are, and work on how to rectify the situation they were in. Exactly.
So Jeff, we talk about the organization as a whole. But where does the major funding comes from?
Funding comes from several sources. We apply to grants.
Yeah.
Within the community. So there are other nonprofits that give us money through their funding, through their services, through town grants, and then municipal, and then state grants as well. So the grant writing process is an ongoing process.
And that's a full-time.
That's a full-time job as well,
right,
exactly,
right.
the whole grant cycle. Then we also have our own fundraising events. We have our database, so we do annual appeals and ask for donations. And then we have our annual gala.
Let's talk a little bit about that,
Sure.
too, because that's coming up on May 6th.
Correct.
And I
right.
want to talk about this because, and I know about this, I don't think I've missed many, in fact, I know I haven't, unfortunately I'm going to miss this one this year, but I've been to a lot of your galas, and they're very, very successful galas, but tell us a little, this has got a little bit of a spin, a little bit different.
This one, there are so many galas.
Yes.
I mean, you could almost
I
go
love this
every
one, though.
weekend
Yeah.
to a different gala. So, what can we do that's different? And this year, the theme is Home on the Range.
I love this.
So it's all about home, but home on the range. So it has that cowboy Western theme. And instead of wearing a coat and tie and a dress, we want people to wear jeans, a cowboy hat and boots, and come have a good time. So it's a Western theme. We're actually going to have a mechanical bull that you can ride if you want. We're going to have.
You're missing it.
And I'm missing it. Yeah, I'm missing it. Yeah.
And all the and we're going to have private label whiskey.
Yeah.
That will be there as well.
Yeah,
So it's just
fantastic.
kind of a fun time. So there'll be games. There's
And
gonna be
auction
fun.
items, too. Yeah,
There's gonna be
silent auction and
items,
live
silent
auction.
auctions
Yeah.
and live auctions. It's to have fun, but it's really to raise money for
Right.
MASH.
And awareness.
And awareness, exactly.
'Cause having had the privilege a couple of times to MC auction, I think one of the things I walk away with is just the awe in the audience when of course it's about raising funds, but there usually is a story or someone that you'll be honoring.
Correct.
And this year you'll be honoring.
We're honoring Lisa Tepper Bates this
Right.
year, who is our executive director 2 directors ago.
Right.
And actually it was under Lisa's direction that when I talked about the coordinated access,
Yes.
that actually started through her.
Yes.
She saw the need of the duplication of services and got a trial program going with
Right.
United Way that started the 2-on-1 program in southeastern Connecticut, which is now a statewide program, and other states are looking to us
She was
for...
instrumental in
Exactly,
getting
right.
that
So
done.
it's only
Yeah.
fitting that we honor her, and now
Yes.
she has a state position with the Connecticut Coalition to End Homeless, so we're going to honor her this year.
That's fantastic. So that's coming up on May 6th, and where is that at?
It's going to be at Latitude 41, 6:30 to 10.
And they can get tickets.
They can call the MASH office, or you actually just mashshelter.org.
Okay.
And right on the home screen there's a button to buy your tickets.
And so the other side of the equation is how many people, I don't know if there's a percentage, or end up back in the system again. I know it's something that we try to prevent, but we talk about cycle.
Correct.
And so how many people come back, do you see come back in that system again?
It's a small percent. It depends on the type of case it is and what happens. On the prevention side, it's very few.
Okay.
Because we're able to, because usually,
You're getting it before it really becomes a crisis.
it's an off incident that happened.
Yeah.
You can rectify it and move them on. On the shelter side, when they do come in, it's a case by case basis. And what we're finding is that the more prevention we're doing, the people that do come into shelter are more severe cases.
Okay.
And they need
All right.
more resources.
Okay.
And there's a new program. It's called Critical Time Intervention, and basically is they come into shelter, you get them placed as soon as you can, but then you're going to stay with that person for 9 months.
What do you mean we're going to stay with that person?
So
MASH is going to...
our social worker is going to
Is
stay
gonna
with
stay-
them,
okay.
right? And once they're in a home, we may be helping with their rent for a while while they're getting employment. We're going to work on employment skills. We're going to work on tenancy skills. We're going to work on whatever skills need so they can become good tenants and be able to stay in a home they can afford. So that's that's where the child care comes That's where the transportation comes into place. That's where the employment piece comes into place. Is to work all that together so they can be gainfully employed to actually afford a place to live with their family, and then maintain that.
Wow.
So one question I have is, the name Mystic Area Shelter, and then you're saying 2-on-1. Now that's affiliated with the state, and then
Correct.
grants from the state and the local municipalities. So when someone enters a program or needs help, do they have to be Mystic specific?
We actually service a wide range. We're in the New London County area.
Okay, so it's a
Right,
wider. Yeah.
correct, right.
Yeah.
And there's actually 3 providers in this general area that deal with families, and we're one of 3. So they can come to us from any town, really, that needs services.
And on average, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, about how many families can you say that you connect with and maybe provide some assistance to?
Well,
a year?
you know, our goal this year is to be able to help 50 families on the prevention side. You know, once again, the prevention's the highest, but we've helped over 1,000 families over the last 18 years. And that used to be, on the first couple of years, it was all shelter, so you're only a handful of people a year. Now, it's that handful of people a year in shelter, but it's large numbers on the prevention side.
And is it, I mean, typically, if you're looking at in a whole, that's, to me, sort of where we want to be.
Correct.
You know, on the prevention
Exactly.
side. I mean,
in
the
fact, the
shelters,
whole state is going through an initiative of 0 2016.
Zero 2016.
Right,
I mean,
and that's to end chronic homelessness in the state by the end of this year. As you know, veteran homelessness was technically ended this year, and now the goal is to end chronic family homelessness and single homelessness by the end of the year. So it's to stop that cycle. You always have people coming in, but it's to keep the repeats from happening. It's to find resources and ways so people aren't always being homeless, being homed, housed, unhoused, is to break that cycle. So it can only be one time, and then they're finding a home for them.
You know, Jeff, you've been since you've moved here, really entrenched in the community. It seems like you just came right in, and I'm just curious on a personal note. You've been involved with MASH a fairly long time.
A little over 8 years.
Yeah, I mean that's a long time to be. So, what is everybody has a passion for an organization. So this seems to be top on your list. Tell me a little bit about why that it's so much.
Well,
Because it's 8 years. That's a long time.
it is long.
Yeah.
Right. I was a board
Probably
member.
the board
for,
member.
Right, I
Yeah,
was a
one of
board
the
member
longest
for
running board
a
members.
very long time.
And then chairman of the board, I think. Were you
Correct.
chairman of the board?
Right,
And then
correct.
opened up his own business, and now the ED for the.
Correct, right.
So I mean, you have a history with
Keep
the.
going back.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Yes,
There's something there that makes you want to come
Well,
back.
you know, I have a family.
Oh, I know. Beautiful
I
family.
have 4
yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
And
a dog.
a dog, 2 dogs.
Oh gosh, I got to catch up with you more often, Jeff. I just do.
But you know, I know how important family is.
Sure. Yeah.
And you know, every family struggles. Has
Oh,
things.
absolutely.
And so you know.
Even in the best scenarios.
Exactly. Correct. And you know, it's important for all of us to think outside of ourselves and to think of others. And I know if I struggle sometimes, imagine a family that has no home. It's
You know, it's hard
unmanageable.
to.
It's hard to even imagine.
I want the
that
best for my
situation.
kids.
Sure.
Shouldn't everybody have the best for the kids?
Sure.
The minimum,
That's why you have them.
having a roof over their head,
Yeah.
it starts there. I mean, no child should be sleeping in a tent outside. No child should be in a car. No child should have to be going from couch to couch, from friend's house to friend's house,
Yeah.
and not knowing where their home is.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really about the kids and preventing that cycle, so that all kids have a great opportunity, because our community has so much to offer them.
Is your family involved? I mean, you must go back and tell them how much you're involved. Are they as much, I guess, involved emotionally with MASH too? I'm sure you hear.
We
you
try to
go
get
back-
them involved in volunteering in
Yeah.
different, for MASH or other organizations. Like, my son now is helping us with some of the IT things at MASH. So,
Of course, because you have to get the younger generation
Yeah, exactly.
involved in the IT stuff. I mean, it
Right,
can't be
right.
any of us.
And then we had a fundraiser, actually, we had a road race, and the benefits went to MASH, and they all helped with the fundraising for the road race as well. So yeah.
And Dr. Ken Carpenter, how much is he involved? I know this was his dream.
He's the founder. He's on our board. So he's really the guiding light. He's the wisdom that guides us.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, if somebody wanted to get involved, maybe they didn't have money that they could necessarily donate, but they wanted to somehow help out this organization because they recognize the good that you're doing. They can just contact.
They can contact us at MASH.
And do you have opportunities for volunteers? I mean,
yeah,
you were saying your children, obviously.
Right, right. We at different times of the year, because people do donate items to us, and then we also have to sort through those items and keep them organized. Because when a family does enter shelter, we want to give them as much to give them a good start. So plates and silverware and new linens and things like that to help them. Also, people actually donate furniture. That, though, we kind of coordinate it. So when a family is moving into a home, then we coordinate the furniture piece because we don't store it anywhere.
Right, where would you store something like that? Yeah.
But so we like to keep people in a queue in a sense. So then when, we have a family of 4 moving into an apartment, we could use 2 beds and a couch, and then we get that moved in for them.
And I know in the past, on like the Coogan Gildersleeve, there was fundraising going there where everybody, Majestic had helped out several times with sheets and just a wish list of things that you can always help out with.
And this year it was Saltwater Farm.
Yes,
did an event and for their holiday party, instead of giving gifts, everybody brought something that we could use for our clients.
Well, Jeff, just to hear about MASH and 18 years of how, and I remember when it was started, with Ken Carpenter's dream to end homelessness, come a long way.
It has come a long way.
And, the wonderful story of this lady that was basically had her life, taken away from her. One month she's giving back to the Union Baptist Church, and the next month she's homeless. And so just that inspiration, I wonder if she really knows how much she has inspired not only the MASH organization, but the community. I want to wrap it up a little bit. We've just got a few minutes here, and just say, again, May 6th, you can get on the website. It's on your screen. It's going to be a great, great gala, something very, very different than any of the other galas in the area. So make sure you reach out and join everybody on May 6th. But I do have to say, because I know I can do this, and Frank will let me just a few more minutes, that Jeff Anderson is also running the Boston Marathon. Can we just give a hand out to Jeff Anderson? I've known people in the past that run the Boston Marathon, but there was an envy there, Tricia, because unless you can run in heels, honey, I ain't doing this. But congratulations, Jeff. You've been training how long?
Several months. Well.
Oh, it just takes several months? Well, no, you've been.
I've been running for years, so you're always training.
Okay, you've been running for years, and just another shout out. Maybe we'll even do a show. The owner of Kelly Space down in the old Mystic Village.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So wrapping it up?
We are. It's always wonderful to have one of our, local nonprofits that are, held in such high regard on the show. And, it really is the mission of the Chamber to help spread their word as well.
Yeah, and as a member of the Chamber, you have the opportunity to be on Mystic Matters. This is really a show that gets booked up quite a bit. And just reach out to Kristen Hartnett. She's been very, very good. At least scheduling all of us and getting everybody on board. So we thank you, our audience. Jeff, we thank you. The members of course, Frank, I know he's in the back there, keeping us in line. And we are the Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce. Good evening, Tricia.
Good evening.